It's another day in the life in South Florida. Larry Mastropieri, broker owner of the Mastropieri Group, here alongside myself, John Laws of Discover South Florida. And we will start this evening with a topic that I think has been mentioned numerous times dating back to just a couple of years ago when I first started working for you. In fact, I remember we did a video on it, something along the lines of the zombie project, because it was the project that just wouldn't die. And for anyone who's not familiar with that, it is the Hidden Valley Golf Course, which that wasn't the original name of it. I'm suddenly drawing a blank on what that name is. But for anyone who's familiar with Northeast Boca Raton, and particularly in the neighborhood of Hidden Valley, you have this really nice parcel of land that goes right through the middle of the neighborhood. I mean, it's got trees, it's got open fields. Like, if you're a kid growing up there, I can't think of a more perfect place that you could play backyard football, baseball, whatever you want to do. Take a look at that, because once upon a time, it was, I'd imagine, a 9-hole golf course. The clubhouse was burned down by punk kids like 20 years ago, allegedly. I mean, I guess, they assume it was arson. I don't think that was, necessarily what it is. But can you imagine, a guy in his early teens and his buddies, going around and saying, dude, you want to burn this place down? And I'm sure that's probably am I wrong? I mean, you can tell me I'm wrong.
There's many rumors through the neighborhood about who burnt it down and how. But to your point, I lived growing up in the Northeast. There was a field/park like this by my house, and we lived in that.
There was same with me. I mean, I grew up kind of a pretty normal mid-American subdivision that had just a couple fields, and I mean, that's exactly what it reminds me of. And it's
this would be awesome.
Special place that I can understand. This is one case that if I was a neighbor right around there, particularly ones that back up right to the valley itself, I would not want anything done to that, because that is awesome. It is an awesome thing to have, to go out in your backyard, that everybody can share this area. But obviously in a place like Boca Raton, where, land is very hard to come by in such a sought after spot, you knew it was a matter of time before somebody proposed something that may actually go through. And it looks like this may be the case with the Toll Brothers, as they have a plan for Boca Raton's dormant golf course. So they have proposed a 74-home luxury community on the long dormant Hidden Valley Golf Course. But this isn't just another South Florida land deal. This property has a lot of history, as we were just saying. You got lawsuits, zoning fights, the fire, and just so many things. I mean, my God, it's been almost 20 years. The Hidden Valley Golf Course closed back in 2006 and has sat there unused ever since. Larry, I'd imagine, especially considering this is definitely the sweet spot for you in terms of where you've been doing business over the past few years, when you're working with buyers and sellers in that particular area, I'd imagine this is a huge selling point.
Yes and no. Yes and no. I'd say some people, there's some randoms that walk through that park, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's me putting it nicely, because it's not really a park, right? It's like abandoned. So so you get,
but it's hard to get to, though. I mean, you got to cut between people's houses. I mean, except there's like one spot towards.
Yeah, this is probably where they enter, right? And so you get some randoms there. So I take the other perspective. I think the right thing to do, assuming the community is on board with it, is that you do something here, because it is kind of a mess. But if I was a 14-year-old, I'd be like, leave it the way it is. This is awesome.
Yeah.
Right? So
it's great.
So, yeah, it totally is. I'm sure. Yeah, I'd be riding dirt bikes back there doing all the fun stuff.
Right.
But let's put it this way: all these defunct golf courses in this Northeast Boca sector, from this one to the one.
Right. I always think Ocean Breeze.
Yeah, the Ocean Breeze setup here. All of this kind of keeps that community kind of a little bit more run down than I think it should be. it shouldn't be this way. It should be all manicured and groomed really well.
Well, Ocean Breeze looks like crap. I'll admit it. I mean, I can remember the first time I went through there when I was getting some drone shots when we were doing a video on it, and how dead everything was. I was like, geez, I just kind of figured that this was the sort of place you left everything alone, it would grow fine.
Yeah,
I was wrong.
right. Well, they do, like, the owner of this mows that lawn / the neighbors mow it. The neighbors back here have to maintain this. You can even see it. Like, some of these neighbors have tractors and they just run them back here. It's crazy.
So nobody, I mean, if they did it, no one else, it would be totally.
The owner will do it. The owner will do it because we've sold a ton of homes around here.
Right?
Yeah, they kind of have to. The owner will
county
do it.
ordinances or city ordinances or something.
Yeah, exactly. The owner will get in trouble, but the owner does it occasionally, like not as much as some of the neighbors would like. So some of the neighbors are motivated and they have their own like ride-ons, like big ones, and they just cruise around and help each other out and just cut a lot of this stuff. So it's like it's kind of not maintained like the others, and putting something there's, I think, to the community's benefit. I think the community, on the other hand, wants substantially less homes than even the 74, right? And so we're about to get into like the history here, and this is why you and I were calling it the zombie project. It was just a project that like never could get done.
It was like a YMCA or something, right? Wasn't it a big recreational setup of sorts?
We have this somewhere. We should have pulled it up for this. And it used to be by right, if you will, or like what you could do pretty easily is make it half recreational, half residences, and the half that's residences, it was looking like it could be 12 single family homes on large acres, like 1 acre plots. This was the previous thought plan that would be very acceptable possibly to the community. Although I think they had problems with the recreational piece as well, because that would create more traffic too. So I'm not sure. Yeah, the T word. Yeah. So, and so the history here is it went defunct in 2006. So it closed down. Then you had all this random stuff happening, punk kids burning things down, or crackheads, or whatever you want to call it, doing that. And then a buyer showed up, a developer. His name was Brian Tuttle, who in 2018 started suing the city because of the rejected plan. He wanted $18 million. I believe that never came to fruition for him. He had proposed 101 homes. He has some development background, but he's not Toll Brothers, right? So, and originally this was platted in 1957 for residential use. Then it was rezoned for recreational use to become a golf course. And now they want to replat it back to recreational use, residential use.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, to your point, it's been vacant for 20 years. And I think it's to the community's benefit to have some development here. I think it will improve values, in my opinion.
You do?
Yeah, I do. Because when you put like multi-million-dollar homes in a neighborhood where most of the homes are sub $1 million, but they're still in pretty decent homes. They're like 1980s vintage. Ceilings are relatively high. If you renovate them, they can look really sharp. You're basically, if you renovate a home in that 1980s home with the pitched ceilings that they have in these homes, and then next door there's $2, $3, $4 million homes, whatever it's going to be. It's like, well, that's
some of them you can tell have been totally renoed and they look terrific.
And they don't sell for that right now. They're not going to sell for $1.5 million in the middle of this here, right? Like in the center area. So I think you'll get a little bit of a bump in value when somebody shows up to buy one of these and they realize it's a $3 million purchase, and then they look at these and they're like, oh, I could be in the same community for a 1-2 for something pretty updated. 2,000, 2,500 square foot home. I'm sure these homes, the new construction homes, will be bigger than most of the homes in currently in Hidden Valley. But either way, I think it will benefit the area. That combined with all the work that the city's doing to revitalize these parks here, I think you have a good opportunity. And this is the best plan I think the community / city has seen yet. Right? You had early on, developers wanted to put apartment buildings there, right?
Yeah, I don't
So
like that.
that didn't fly. And then you have, all the way down to 101 homes planned for the site, which was shot down and rejected by both the city and the community. And now you have 74. So it's trending in their direction that they want, right? So what's interesting about this 74 home proposal, it's a 55-acre parcel of land, and that's 1.43 homes per acre, which is well below the 3.1 unit mix allowed under the R1D zoning. So that they're already kind of complying with, right? And the 101 homes are also complied with that, right? So that's fine. And then they planned to solve the flooding concerns that the neighbors had. They planned a 19.6 acre lake to mitigate flooding, and then a 50-foot landscape buffer between these homes here, which is pretty substantial. 50 feet landscape buffer, that's pretty substantial.
Yeah.
So, that's also nice, and it'll be gated. They'll be, manicured. This whole place will be manicured. So it'll be a nice little private community within the community. I don't even think you'll realize it's there when it's finally done. And by the way, that's better than a big recreational site on the south end of the community, which was what, was kind of the standing plan, with big, huge, lights lighting up a baseball field at night. That's
right.
Also less interesting, in my opinion. So I don't know. This is maybe there's plans I don't know about, but sounds like one of the better proposals yet, and proposed by a real developer that gets stuff
with
done.
with a proven track record. Absolutely.
Yeah, so it's going to get done, assuming the city and community work with them. I'm sure there's going to be a fight here. We know this community well. We work in it so much. It's one of the main communities we operate in, and I know these neighbors are not thrilled with.
I was going to say, have you already have a pulse on that? I mean, this is going
to. Also, there's there's people in this community that are on some level connected and sophisticated. And they kind of oppose development in general, and so they're pretty good at paperwork and organization, and so you're gonna feel a very organized, synchronized resistance here. Toll Brothers, for whatever it's worth, you're gonna get it. Like, they're all over this stuff. There's attorneys that live in this community, attorneys that I know. I've been CC'd in the emails to Toll Brothers, community outreach. Like, I'm seeing these things happen, and I'm like, oh gosh, they don't know what they're getting themselves into.
But how do those conversations go? I mean, what does the opposing faction say to Toll Brothers in a situation like this?
What were you and I joking about the other day? Like, they had I don't know if was it this community or was it the other one? I can't remember. One of the developers just didn't show up to the meeting, right? This developer,
on a blank on which one that was.
So I don't think these guys were the ones that just didn't show up, but I think these guys were. They had planned. So this is what I'm talking about. They had planned a community outreach, and they were going to do, piece by piece. This was Toll Brothers' plan, right? They were going to say, okay, we're going to reach out to this part of the community. We'll have a meeting that day with them, talk it through, explain to them what we want, hear feedback, and do the community outreach. Then we'll move on to the next meeting, and we'll do the south end of the community. And so, everybody's getting involved. The community, all these buildings down here care about this because of the traffic, right? And this is one road. Yeah. So what happened is combined with, one of the attorneys in here is very, like I said, very connected and very sophisticated in the local area. And so as soon as she got word of it, the notifications started going out to all these other associations. And so, hey, here's the date, here's the time, this is when they're planning to do this. And quickly, very quickly, Toll Brothers got overwhelmed with just how many people were going to show up to this thing. Mm-hmm. And they were like, hey, this was the plan, and you guys just took our invitation, northwest corner of the community, and you gave it to the entire community, thousands and thousands of people. And these people
have nothing else to do. That it's just yeah.
I mean, hold on. I wonder how many people are in this Facebook group. Oh, it's actually less than I expected. There's 265 members of Neighbors Against Rezoning the Hidden Valley Boca Raton Executive Golf Course.
Okay,
So
this isn't like the Save Boca movement.
this is different. This is another one. I'm sure they got Save Boca signs. The same people with 256 members. I'm sure they got the Save Boca signs all over their yards too. So yeah. So I mean, you gotta organize.
But again, I can at least understand this one because I would be very partial to keeping an open valley like that behind my home. But again, I didn't account for all the randos that probably show up there, and many of which aren't up to doing anything good. But again, was that the plan that we're looking at right here? Okay,
which is actually pretty interesting from my perspective. It literally makes if you're on this side,
makes some waterfront technically, right?
Yeah, if you're on this side of the community, it turns you into a decent waterfront, home like this.
Yeah.
I think this probably adds, just the waterfront, you're $50,000 to $100,000 probably on top of what you're getting right now. Because when we sell homes there, it's always a question of what's going to happen here. What's going to happen here? So there's that hurdle. The buyers are always concerned when we sell homes on this strip here, and then we get around that usually. And you do usually get a premium to buy here because the lots are a little bit bigger. Homes are generally a little bit bigger. And it used to be on a golf course. So you get this pretty big nature view in some cases. But I think you'd benefit from just having this lake, this lake view here. I know you're going to be seeing homes right across the way. Listen, nothing's perfect. Nothing's perfect.
I mean, but
but this is, and some are going to benefit more than others. Like this guy here is probably going to be less happy than this guy here down at the bottom, right?
Yeah.
He's got this huge water view. So, I think it's interesting.
The guy's bordering on the right side of that. Clearly it's like they know what they're getting into because it will be there by the time they buy it and move in.
Totally. And on the right side here, this is on a busier road. So historically, these homes are a little bit, they kind of get the raw end of the deal on everything. But they bought these homes on these busier roads. So So I think most of these people are not going to be thrilled about having just right now they have this big view, and now you're going to have trees here. It's changing. It's affecting people. This is definitely, if I owned a home right here, I'd probably be against this, right? I was
going to say, I mean, if we're drawing battle lines here, I mean, it seems seriously like East versus West.
Totally, 100%. And historically, believe it or not, West Hidden Valley tends to trade for more and be more valuable than East Hidden Valley, which is the opposite of what you would think. The highway's right here too. But in this sector here, this is a more valuable area. And so this is just going to prop up these sale prices here quite a bit, I think. I think something needs to go there. And I find it hard to believe a developer is going to be able to get in there and do much better than what they're proposing here, just because they got to make money. So either the property's got to, I guess on the other hand, the seller could sell for less, right? And eventually that seller, I think it's a lady that owns it, who inherited it from her father. Eventually, if they lose this battle, I mean, her properties just continues to be worth less and less, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Now I'm looking at the notes here. I don't see when is this vote, or when did they make the final decision on this?
Yeah, I think let's see,
because I'm not seeing it.
It's zoning and site plan hearings coming soon is what they left us with. So we will see. We shall see.
And they will postpone it as long as they possibly can.
Yeah. Generally speaking, I think there's a good chance that some agreement comes together here, because Toll Brothers generally is going to be constructive, whereas that Brian guy just turned around.
Right. It was amateur hour.
That's how it felt, at least. Yeah. Yeah. So it seemed litigious, and he was fighting with the community, and it just that's not the way you're going to get something done here for sure. So anyway, we'll see what happens in Hidden Valley.
Yeah. So speaking of splitting things up, we have a topic that I saw this recently as well. Evidently, the luxury real estate market is splitting in two in South Florida. Obviously, South Florida mansions are selling fast, but not all luxury properties are created equal, of course. So, you want to know who's paying cash and why. So we're going to break down what Coldwell Banker brokers are seeing. Now, not all luxury buyers are created equal, of course. You have some that have dropped $50 million in cash, while others are stuck waiting for the rates to come down. So why is the high-end market splitting in two, and really who's winning? Larry, explain it to people who aren't familiar with this situation. What do we mean the luxury real estate market is splitting in two? That we have like different tiers of it?
Exactly. So this is what we're feeling here too. So this like survey of 200 agents just shed some light on this too. We're feeling this. So what they are saying, the survey is saying is, sub $5 million, you get more of a value buyer, believe it or not. So the luxury market from like $1 million to $5 million, especially $1 million to $2 million around here, there's a value perspective on this stuff. They're financing some of this. Not always. There's still a high level of cash purchases going on in that price bracket, but there are buyers that are financing this on some level, and they're concerned. They're watching the market, and it matters to them. Whereas the 10 million, 20 million, 30 million, 40, $50 million buyers, it's kind of a totally different thing. It just is, right? And it's just a different market altogether. So when people talk about the luxury market down here, usually you start by saying luxury is anything over $1 million, but down here, $1 million is not really luxury. Most cases.
No, it's not.
The number sounds luxurious, $1 million, but the actual product you're acquiring in most cases is not that luxurious. You really need to be in the East, you really need to be in the 3 million plus range to get something that I would quantify as luxury. And so at 3, at 2.5, at 4 or 5 million, you're still getting buyers that are value conscious and are watching comps and trying to understand. But I say that, and then you have that's like 70% of the buyer pool, and then you have the 30% of the buyer pool that's buying a $5 million home that's just doing it. They're not really too stressed about it because their value, and this is what they talk about here too, people who have a net worth of 30 million plus, they're actively acquiring multi-million dollar properties, cash deal after cash deal. This is their second, third, fourth, fifth home, whatever it is. Right. And it's not a big deal to them, and they're cool with this. They'll spend $5 million on a home, and it's not a big deal. So you get $30 million net worth individuals buying these $2, $3, $4, $5 million homes as secondary or tertiary homes or whatever. And then you get the people with like the $5 million net worth that are like very focused on value. Usually this may be their second home, but they're really focused on making sure they do a correct deal because it really matters. I was going to say, or it might be on the verge of being their permanent home because they're kind of teetering on retiring, that sort of thing. Exactly. So that's going to be their retirement home. They want to make a good decision, and they're going to sell their other home and then pay off this one or whatever it might be. So the luxury market down here is different, I think, from other parts of the country where sometimes $1 million can go a much longer way, right? Right. Yeah. And over the past, I don't know, 15 years, what $1 million is actually worth in assets has changed dramatically, right? With So, I mean, I'd imagine, right? I mean, just in the time you've been doing this, I mean, I guess post-pandemic is when it really. Yeah, I mean, if you bought something in 2011, it was I don't know, an eighth to a quarter of what you would pay today. And right. so, I mean, that's just wild. It's just wild. So again, these value conscious buyers are out there making the market feel a little softer in that luxury price point, which is why we see it now. We just went over this with a client we have listed in downtown Delray for $6 million. you see the days on market climbing, you see the inventory climbing over the past 2 years. It's all going up. Now, now people are still buying homes though. Like that, it's still happening in this like $6 million, $5 million, $4 million range. They're showing up and they're buying them. It's just taking a little longer, and these guys are still getting the prices. And each market's different. Like if you look at Delray and Boca, a lot of these $5 or $6 million homes, they're new construction homes. They're built by spec custom builders. Those spec custom builders have a lot of other homes under construction in the area, and they're not just gonna sell a property for a discount because that's the new comp for the next home. So they just hurt themselves 10 times over for the next 10 homes they're selling if they comp this one at that price. So they're more inclined to just say, this is the price for these homes. We need to make a proper margin on this, and we're just not going to sell them if not. And that's that. And so they're not stressed. They're not stretched. And so you have like a group of 10 or 15, 20 builders that are in this area doing that for these like ultra luxury homes. Yeah. Anyway, that's the spiel.
Yeah. So as we keep moving here. Yeah, I was going to say Doge. I remember we were talking about Doge a few months ago when Elon was on a tear coming through South Florida. West Palm Beach, I know, was one of his target spots. I say I mean Doge. Obviously Doge cuts deep. Government vacates office space across South Florida. In fact, 217,000 square feet of federal leases have been canceled across Florida. Yeah, already. And a huge chunk of that is right here in Miami-Dade and Broward. What's behind it and how will it shake up the market? Over 6 million square feet of leases gone. So 77,000 South Florida already terminated, but Doge isn't slowing down. Could have fooled me. According to a report from Avison Young, 77,000 square feet of office space already gone. You have 843,000 square feet at risk, and most of it is mentioned in South Florida due to the cuts by Doge. Man, so since January, Doge has terminated more than 6 million square feet of government space, of their leases, nationwide. Naturally, these cancellations could lead to higher vacancy rates, falling prices, and potentially a significant shift in how the government utilizes office space in our region. Larry, how does this affect what you're doing? Does it at all, really?
It doesn't affect residential real estate as much. If anything, if I owned an office building next to one of these buildings and it was an average office building, so not like this epic Class A space that they're building right now, but like just an average building, it might be a little frustrating, right? But so basically, and this is what we've seen, like that Class A product, people are looking for that. Businesses, community, they're renting this stuff out. They're leasing it up so fast before these projects are even done. But then you get stuff like this that just comes to market possibly, and it just increases that overall average product inventory, and that'll probably drive a little bit, drive prices down a little bit in this space. I don't think it's like an overwhelming amount of space, but it's still a thing. It's still a thing.
I find it interesting because the one that we were talking about a few months ago was that office. I guess it was like some sort of post office hub in West Palm Beach, a pretty large lot located right next to WPTV's television studio, which was also recently purchased now by Related Ross for some huge project that they're going to be doing there eventually, which doesn't feel like a coincidence at all. Yeah, but that's it. I mean, aside from that, I hadn't even seen really any of this.
Well, what's interesting is so if you break it down, there's 21,000 square feet from the National Park Service office in Homestead that's closed. And then there's 14,000 square feet FDA office in Plantation canceled. So we're talking Dade County mostly here. 3,000 square feet of Department of State office in Miami terminated. They didn't provide exact locations, but one can assume where that is. And then you have Fort Lauderdale has 460,000 square feet at risk. Miami, another 416. West Palm, 123,000 overall. And Palm Beach
Which
County
I think
overall,
most of it was that building. I mean, that was a large space.
yeah. So most of this office space in Palm Beach County is in West Palm, all of it almost. But then they comment on like, hey, because they're canceling so much of this stuff, they may be moving and relocating certain parts of the certain entities over into these other spaces. So even though they're at risk, they really might not be at risk. They're more likely to continue to operate. Let's see. Here
what
you go.
gets me, obviously, we're operating under the assumption that the space wasn't being used, that the government was just sitting on it. I mean, it was very inefficient. It goes without saying.
And there's so much more that can be done. There's
Right.
so much. And if you've been watching anything about this debt issue that we have in the U.S. government, I mean, I think this topic is going to get bigger and bigger over the next 5 years or so. There seems like there's a real problem, and this isn't enough.
Right.
This is a start. It's a good effort. It needs to be done. But from my perspective, what do I know? But from my perspective, but overall, this is like nowhere near what needs to be done to reduce our debt issue at all. So this is probably going to get worse, whether it's now or later, whether it's when the government's like defaulting and has major issues, or now and we solve it ahead of time schedule, which I doubt we're going to solve the debt issue without it getting more painful. So we're probably going to experience even more cuts in a more rash way later on in the future. And so this is at least a good start.
Yeah.
So overall, most of this stuff is probably at risk long term. Is my guess here, and it's just interesting. It's not really that interesting overall from a what's going on.
How it affects the residential real estate space.
Yeah. So
unless they rezone some of it to make it residential spaces. I don't know.
Maybe it makes, maybe there's some restructuring.
Turn them into lofts. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe these buildings they sell off and they knock them down. They do something else interesting. Some of that could happen. Maybe they renovate them and make them more Class A-ish. That could be interesting. Or it drives down office pricing in that bracket of that Class B, Class C, whatever class these properties are, and you get a more affordable place for businesses to lease space, and maybe that drives an increase in office or in businesses relocating here on top of all the other benefits, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, the tax advantages, et cetera. Yeah. So let's talk about this one.
Yeah, I was going to say, so as we move on, getting back into the more residential side of things, seems like there's nothing new here. We were having this same conversation about a year ago. Home purchase agreement cancellations. If I recall, wasn't it? I think it was May of last year, or no, May or June, where they had 56,000 cancellations. That number is like burned into my brain. I remember, but it sounds like a year later, it has not been much better. Wow. I mean, South Florida is part of this wave now. You got more contracts, more cancellations. According to the latest numbers, nearly 15% of pending deals nationwide were canceled in May of 2025. Larry, does that number surprise you in the slightest?
Not really. Actually, as we're we started another channel where we're looking at the national real estate statistics, and we're like reporting on this stuff, right? So wow. So feel free to go check that out.
Yeah, it's the Real Estate Market Watch.
There you go. But as we're watching that, and I'm seeing and we're learning as we're doing this, how the rest of the country is experiencing the correction, it makes me think about, it doesn't make me surprised that we're seeing this number. Certain parts of the country aren't experiencing major issues, and then other parts are. And
make up the difference. Right.
Sun Belt is really doing their part in the cancellation effort here. It seems like to me. And we're kind of, and if we're talking about this point in time in the North the weather's good. Usually this is kind of the selling season. It's kind of trending towards the end of the selling season over there. And so it'll be interesting to see how the other parts of the country operate as we roll into their down season. We're in our down season right now, or our slower volume season. And so, so I expect this to probably get worse as time goes on here, assuming rates don't change and other things don't happen.
Why?
Yeah.
I mean, what? I mean, because it's the cancellations that surprise me. Just that we just are filled to the brim with people that have unrealistic expectations that bit off more than they can chew. Is that what's happening here?
I think you always see this when the correction happens, which is people are asking a certain price for a home. They continue to ask that price as values drop. Buyers are still trying to buy homes because they're living their life and it's time for them to buy a home for whatever reason, relocation, upsize, downsize, whatever. And so you get people that go under contract and then get nervous and then realize, hey, I think I'm just really paying a lot for this. And they do their inspection and a few things happen and they're like, yeah, with all these other things, plus I already feel like I'm overpaying for this, I'm out, right? Or this has got to be a really perfect deal to convince me to do this. And so when we're sitting there, we're under contract as a buyer, and the buyer starts to learn, wow, it's really going to cost me this much to own this thing, man. And I don't know if I actually want to do this anymore. I think I need to change my thoughts around how I'm doing this. And then they learn something else happens. They got to fix this. They got to put a roof on. Insurance is $1,000 more a year. It's just like, cancel. Let's get out of this thing. We'll go find something different. And so I think you see that when the market's changing, and so I think the market continues to change, which is why I think this is going to continue to happen. And again, when you're in your down season, you probably see it more than when you're in your peak volume season, when more buyers are out, which in the north is typically spring and summer, and in the south it's usually January, February, March, April, May. Right. So it's the first 5 months. Some people will say November, December is season down here. Yeah, I'd say people come down during that time, but it doesn't, you see inventory level off when you hit February, not the other way around. You typically see inventory continue to climb up until December here. And we've seen that every year, and that's easy to trend. So if you ask me what season is actually down in the South, it's February, March, April, May, June at the latest. And then we're off season. So from a purchasing perspective for property. So anyway, so that's what I
mean, it just, so confidence is down.
Yeah. Confidence is down. People are trying to make things happen. They're not always the most sophisticated buyers or sellers. And so you start to see things kind of fall apart as they learn and get serious once they're under contract. They're excited.
So the sellers contribute to this too? Because I mean, I'm picturing this in my head just almost like as a total buyer thing.
Think of it this way. If the property is priced fairly or is priced cheap, according to the market's opinion of it, rarely do you see a deal cancel, right? Right. It's just like, unless there's like a catastrophic thing that they find during inspection. But that was always the case. If you find find a sinkhole in a backyard in South Florida, you're probably backing out of the deal, right? Yeah. And that, I don't care if that was 2021 or 2025, you're still probably backing out of the deal. So I guess the point here is when a property's priced correctly, you're not really seeing these cancellations. Buyers recognize it. They may think they appreciate it when they are making the offer. Then when they get under contract and start really doing the homework and then start considering alternative options and start doing their due diligence, they begin to really appreciate that this is the right deal for them and they stick in, versus the opposite. They're like, oh shoot, I stretched on the payment. This feels a little pricey. I don't know how this thing actually comps. I'm concerned about appraisal. We're starting to talk about inspection items and the seller's not being super flexible. All these things start to happen and they're like, well, let's get out of this thing. So so again, to your point, I say all that again to say, yeah, sellers contribute to this for sure. They price their property at, a stretch number, and sometimes they get it, rarely. in this market, but sometimes they get it. And usually they go through pain until they get to the price that the market agrees with. And then usually it doesn't cancel. So
gotcha.
Pretty straightforward, right?
Yeah.
You would think pretty logical. That's not the daily conversations.
Well, I was going to say, all this talk about the North and South at different times of the year, looks like there may be another wave of people from New York working their way down to South Florida. Not exactly COVID, but if I didn't know what Mamdani was, I would be like, oh, is that some sort of disease, man? People are they're leaving in droves, man. This Mamdani's out there, and it's like people are sick.
Don't touch it.
Oh, geez. So anyway, for those of you who, like myself, aren't from New York or been following the news necessarily, Zoran Mamdani, guy's 33 years old. And he is a very socialist-leaning candidate for the Democrats, and he is on the verge of possibly becoming the next mayor of New York City. Evidently, a lot of his proposed policies are very much not in line with what real estate people in that area are accustomed to dealing with. Larry, am I wrong here?
They're saying, the argument is maybe he's not as small business friendly or high earner friendly, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he's more pro increased taxes, etc. And so if you are concerned about that and you believe that's his position and that's what he will do, then South Florida looks appealing. And so as soon as Mamdani won the primary for the Democrats, beating Cuomo, I think, right?
Yes.
Which is awesome decision between. Okay, we'll leave it at that. Awesome to decide between those two. The Palm Beach County Business Development Board immediately started engaging with the businesses who they felt were a possible candidate to relocate sooner. Right, their leases were going to expire soon in New York. Whatever it is, they engaged. They went after it. Here's my thoughts on this. I could be completely wrong. I don't know enough about this, but my general inclination is he's probably not going to win, is what I've been told by people.
Really? I mean,
that's what I've been told.
Democrats in New York. I mean, that's kind of a given.
This is what I've been told by people who follow this closely. And if he doesn't win, I just don't think this Mamdani effect really impacts a lot of people. I know. Don't get me wrong. When he won, I had like 4 or 5 phone calls from people from New York that are like, I'm getting out of here.
Did you really?
Totally, 100%.
You weren't even going after them. They came right to you.
Totally, 100%. So wow. There are people in New York City that are not a fan of this possible outcome and are like actively looking. But then it's kind of cooled down. Like it's like, there's been less of that from my perspective. And so if he doesn't win, this doesn't mean anything. And I don't think much happened, right? I think if he does win, we probably get a little bump. But overall, I don't know if this is like going to just boost the demand for property like we saw obviously during the pandemic. Like the
market was much more primed for it then, right?
I guess here's my point. Maybe it helps. And it probably him winning the primary or actually winning the election up there, it probably helps South Florida real estate. That's net helps, net positive. How much I question. And if he doesn't win, I question it. It probably helped a little bit, and they say, so in this article, they say, well, the fact that he almost wins or he got through the primaries suggests that next time there's a good chance, he'll be elected, and again, or these ideologies will transcend him into politics and will still create problems for these same individuals, and these individuals will want to relocate, and that's what they're thinking. And so, all true. I just think like it's New York, and there's a reason why people are in New York, and New York isn't hurting overall, in my opinion. Like real estate values are up in New York, guys. So like let's just say that, generally speaking, and like New York isn't dead. New York is a huge city. It's rocking, and there's a real reason why that city is rocking and why it's doing its thing. And there's real business opportunity there. And so people are there for that reason. And so it's not super easy to just move from New York to South Florida overall in general. And if they were going to do it, they probably would have done it already. So I think the big bulk of population movement has happened already. And we're still going to continue to see this lower growth, population growth environment, whether he wins or loses anyway. Just generally, unless he starts doing real crazy shit up there, that's like, which is possible. I mean, the shit that
right.
I'm talked to these guys, like I said, I got 5 phone calls about how he's literally going to, do some crazy stuff,
raise taxes, give everything else away for free. That's all I've seen.
All these things, right? And so, could he go do these things if he wins? Sure. And could that really just drive certain people out of there? Sure. I just don't know how much it's going to really benefit, because they could relocate to anywhere in Florida. They're more likely to relocate to South Florida, obviously, but they got Broward, Palm Beach, and Dade to choose from. And I just don't. And they sent 500 direct mailers. Okay, 500 people relocating in the area. It's South Florida. That's kind of like a drop in the bucket. Would it be great to have 500 businesses relocate and the people that they employ, et cetera, et cetera? Sure, I get the chain effect here, but I don't. I guess what I'm saying is, because I hear this from sellers now, and it's like, hey, if I just wait long enough, we're gonna get one of those buyers to buy my home, right? And it's like, guys,
unless you're really on the high end, I would think.
I don't think it's going to drive up values to the point where they're going to pay $200,000 above what market is on your home, and you should wait at 200. So this is my point. I don't think, this is why I'm kind of poo-pooing this a little bit. I don't think it really is going to materially impact values to that degree. I think it's net positive. It's good. Let Mamdani win. It's going to help South Florida. Perfect. But I just don't know how much it really, really matters. It's going to be beneficial. But that's my spiel on that. I've heard this too many times this week.
Well, I mean, I've seen, right. I mean, I see headlines and clickbait articles for it all the time. But again, I mean, not being my native neck of the woods, I don't really know one way or the other.
Yeah.
What I do know is a little bit about Lennar. They do a lot of building, and evidently they're going to do some more building, because that's what they do. They acquired a $13 million townhouse site in Wilton Manors. Plan on building 50 brand new townhomes with prices starting in the 800s. Sounds like another South Florida development story, right? Well, evidently there's a little more to it than that. This one comes with a twist in strategy that could change how builders operate down here. Larry, what have you heard about this?
It's kind of neat. Well, first off, I think it's this location, doing this here feels like a good deal, just generally speaking. I haven't done the math, right? But just looking at this overall, it's a great location in East, basically Fort Lauderdale. It's Wilton Manors, but if you look at the proximity to downtown Fort Lauderdale on this map, these townhomes are, this is 10 minutes tops away from downtown. So it's a great location, really close to the beach, really close to all the action in Wilton Manors, which is pretty popular. Generally speaking, this is great. And so, and this is kind of a rundown property anyway. So, replacing this with actual nice development, new construction, I'm pro getting that done. I think this is pretty solid deal. And 50 brand new townhomes. That's a lot of townhomes. Yeah, for that area, just squeezing them in there. So what they're doing here, which is kind of unique, is they're not paying for the dirt until they finish the project. So
they pull that up.
Right. So they've made a deal with the owner of the land. And so here's typically how this works. These parcels usually, and I believe this is the case for this one, Lennar is a big company. They'll buy land and go through the entitlement process, just like we talked about Toll Brothers would, right? So Toll Brothers buys the land, goes to the city, rezones it, gets it all set up, and then builds on it. There's another way this gets done, right? Toll Brothers, or for example, the owner, well, let's use Toll Brothers. So instead of Toll Brothers buying the land or putting it under contract and then trying to rezone it, if it rezones, closing on the property, the current owner can rezone it themselves and then sell it to Toll Brothers. And that de-risks a lot of stuff, right? Yeah. Because now all Toll Brothers has to do is show up and build the thing, right? And so that's what has happened here. Lennar is buying this parcel from this company, and they've already done the work to rezone, and they call that entitling. So I think they paid, if I remember correctly, this is the one where they paid like $3 million for this thing, and then they did all the entitlement work. Not the current owner paid substantially less, did all the entitlement work, and now turns around and goes to all these big builders and just says, who wants it and for what price? Let me know. Right. And then they make a deal with one of these guys. They don't actually build they don't actually build the stuff. They're not builders. They just.
So was there kind of like a bidding war for it?
I'm sure Lennar was contacted. I'm sure GL, Toll Brothers, whoever, and just everybody and I'm sure a bunch of small guys too, because 50 brand new townhomes isn't like a massive project. There's a handful of guys in that space that could do this. And so I'm sure they went and engaged a bunch of parties after they got it entitled and just said, who wants to do this? And then Lennar worked out a deal with them where instead of paying them $13 million today, they'll pay it when it's done. And so they signed this agreement that allows them to build on it, do the whole deal, and then they get paid out in a different way when the deal is actually done. And so the benefit of this is, as interest rates have climbed, to spend $13 million, Lennar's cost of capital is, high because interest rates are higher today than it was 4 years ago, we'll put it that way. And so their cost of capital is higher. And so it could be a better deal for them to just do this here, where they, instead of financing it, they're probably paying a little bit more than they otherwise would pay up front, right? Maybe the deal was, we'll pay you $11 million cash today or $13 million, over this period of time if we structure the deal where we don't have to spend all $13 million at once. So it's a way of basically financing the deal. And this works when you have a professional who's entitling the property, right? So this owner clearly has some sophistication and
or at least smart enough to bring in somebody who knew how to do it.
Totally. On some level, there were attorneys that drafted this. This all went through, a process. And so, long story short, it's just another way of basically financing it. It's like seller financed construction almost. Not the entire construction, but at least the dirt version of it. So,
how common is that? I mean, I haven't really heard
super
of
common. You probably only do this with, a AAA rated companies like a Lennar. You probably don't do this with like some. What's that guy we were just talking about?
I was going to say the one with the Hidden Valley course.
Yeah, you probably don't do this with Brian. I don't. That's me taking a stab at Brian. I don't know.
I mean, whatever.
I think he does develop stuff. I think he is relatively wealthy, but he's not Lennar Corp, right? Building all over the country, which is just like AAA rate. These guys are the real deal. And so you do with them. They've done this a number of times before. It states in here. So this is becoming more of a thing, especially as interest rates remain where they're at. And so what they've probably done is they've basically found a way not to spend $13 million up front. And then they probably finance the construction of this project. And then they start doing pre-sales on this thing. And so they probably get pre-sales cash, deposits, plus they finance the construction, plus they haven't paid the $13 million. So it really, their capital structure probably looks pretty interesting on this deal. It's probably desirable. That's why I assume they do it. So
as long as they get those pre-sales.
Yeah, but you and I have talked about this 100 times. Like all these communities are getting pre-sales. It's crazy. It's like where are these coming from? I don't know, $800, $900, $1 million for townhomes that are like in this area. I get it.
Nice.
I get it. Like pretty close to downtown Fort Lauderdale. Again, close to the beach.
I'm picturing couples, double income, no kids Tiny. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Or just a family that, can't afford one of these homes and needs to be close to work in downtown. Works in the office. Yeah.
Right.
So
Makes sense. This guy should do that for a living.
Yeah.
All right. So office rents are still rising. Office rents.
Yeah.
Okay. So, you have more space sitting empty and new construction slowing down, but yet rents are still rising. In fact, in Broward County, they topped the chart with a 3.4% quarter-over-quarter rent increase, approaching $40 per square foot. That's according to Collier's quarterly South Market report. Palm Beach County had a 1.4% growth, which reaches just over $45.50 per square foot. And then Miami-Dade County, a little more modest, only up 0.6%, but they still are much higher at $59 square foot. So rents are still rising. Larry, what is happening?
Class A, baby. It's Class A space.
Okay.
It even says it here. Meanwhile, vacancies climbed, except in Dade, and construction slowed. Yet Class A office buildings kept pulling the market upward. So this is where we're getting the action. And it makes sense. You get quality businesses and companies relocating from other parts of the country. Some of them used to quality office space in New York City, as an example, and then they move here and they want something similar in quality level. And I don't know what office space costs are in New York City, especially for Class A stuff, but I think it's cheaper than at least Palm Beach County.
Is it really?
I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah, again, it's not.
I don't know.
No.
That would be my gut reaction there. Somebody can correct us on that if I'm wrong. Call me out. Yeah, but again, so it's interesting. Palm Beach County saw 1.4% growth, reaching just over $45 a foot. Miami-Dade, 0.6%, just under $59 per square foot. These are like big numbers. But again,
they're like, oh, it didn't go up that much. Yeah, because it's already $60 a square foot. I mean, come on.
Yeah. But again, this Class A stuff, as they build more of this, it looks like there's a healthy demand for that. We're talking about seeing, I can't wait till they do this one in Boca, right?
Right. The Aledo. Wasn't that
Aledo Square?
Aledo at Sanborn.
Yeah. They haven't been moving. They demoed everything, but they haven't been doing.
Oh, have they not? I haven't been by there in a while.
Yeah, haven't done much else. So that's disappointing. So I don't know what they got going on over there. But I think that'll be a project. That's a bunch of Class A in Boca, which has basically no Class A.
I was going to say, it was like the first Class A office space in 20 some odd years, correct?
20 years, yeah. So it's like you build that, you're getting that. You're getting it. It's you can't. It's very hard to underwrite because you have no comps. But I think there's people there for that. Which maybe that's why there's hesitance on the development side here. I don't know. But we'll see. We'll see. I think that's what this is. Yeah.
Okay. Well,
here it is.
Are we talking about this last story?
Do you want to?
I mean, it's up to you. It is a nice thing to close out on it, for anybody who's interested. I was going to say, I mean, if you hadn't heard, I saw the article. Playboy headquarters, their global headquarters, is moving from Los Angeles to South Florida, which, if you were telling me that in the mid 90s, I think that was a big deal, but obviously times have changed. There was this thing called the internet, certainly has changed the dynamics with a lot of this stuff. And of course, Hugh Hefner passing away some time ago. But yeah, Playboy making a bold move in South Florida. And without even having to look, I was like, let me guess, they're going to downtown Miami. You know where they're going? They're going to downtown Miami.
Of course.
A luxury penthouse headquarters, a new members-only club, and a content studio all on deck. Not just a relocation. It's a rebranding of an empire in South Florida's image.
They're relocating. They signed a 10-year lease at the Ravani, right?
I'd be interested to know if Playboy's still around in 10 years, to be perfectly honest with you. I mean, just, it's time. Yeah.
I don't know their business model. I don't even know.
Oh, that's true. Yeah,
who knows what they're doing?
I mean, I've read plenty of them. I'm just saying.
Oh, gosh. Well, what's interesting is, and I was reading about this. I was trying to pull it up again here. They're moving in 2026. Oh, look at this. Building amenities, concierge, valet, spa, fitness center, omakase restaurant, speakeasy, event space. They're making this like a thing.
Yeah, I mean, for something like that, I guess you're going to have to go all out.
20,000 square feet. They have there's like, as you get, there's a content center. They have all this stuff.
I know, which I was like,
which is hysterical. So previously, there's some note here. At least I was reading this when I flipped this to us like earlier. They used to be based in Miami. So like a long time ago when they were first around, and then they moved to LA, and now they're moving back. So it's kind of this moving back home type of thing, which is interesting.
So it's Playboy's homecoming, huh?
Miami over LA. Can't you?
I would, yeah. I mean, honestly, if I knew nothing about it, and I would assume it'd be somewhere like Miami instead.
I get LA's got all the actresses and all that, but I feel like Miami's the spot for that.
Yeah.
For just the wildness, right?
You say family program. I'll keep this clean. I have thoughts on it, but whatever. Life goes on.
On that note,
all right. We're going to wrap it up. On behalf of Larry Mastropieri, I'm John Laws. Thanks to everyone for tuning in. Have a great weekend, and we will see you on the next one.